When it comes to Zeo, the crystals were a big driving force in moving past MMPR. I love the concept of ranger teams discovering a power source. Was it natural? Was it from an ancient civilization? Who were these people? Why did they die off? But it wasn't executed good. We didn't get any information. This tends to be a common problem when it comes to PR and Sentai. With Maji Ranger, we almost never saw Magitopia, and Ghost Sager, that's one of the reasons why I hate the season. We never saw where they're from. Another problem we run into, Rangers have all these amazing powers. How did this happen? When Earth tech is pretty much present day, in MMPR's sake, that got answered. Sentai doesn't always bother. But Ohranger's backstory got all this checked off. Last time I mentioned, Ohranger's powers came from an ancient race of people during the era of Pangia. As the continents formed, these people also split up, creating 6 sources of Chouriki. This is also where the first paranoia started, which is where Riki comes in. Riki, like the Chouriki artifacts, were put into storage to help out Earth when the paranoia returned. This amazing power source comes from an alternate dimension of energy. Over the millions of years, civilizations kept discovering Chouriki, which is why objects around Earth represent the Ohranger Mecha. Like the originals who discovered the power, it got lost to time till 1999 when UAO figured it out again. And once Paranoia returned, Riki with his companion Doran and Paku were woken up. They actually explain why they didn't wake up when they first attacked. Riki was sleeping in the Chouriki dimension. It has a time discontinuity around 6 months. We got a full backstory. The people who originally found it are long gone, so I can't complain that we don't see them. And the power source was lost and found over millions of years. The writers really went out of their way in building this season up. It just sucks that the episodes and the cast had to get screwed. Goro, Shohei, Yuji, Juri, and Momo aren't bad like the Zyuranger characters. We did get basic backgrounds from each of them, but it doesn't go past that. What's more frustrating, some seasons badly use a few characters like Kazu and Dairanger, but at least he got lines. Shohei has got to be the most underused ranger, plus barely even talks. He's the guy that emotes, shows funny faces, loves food, but he's always in the background. He's gotten a few solo episodes, but that was near the middle of the season, and one episode ended up being a red episode when it first started out about him. What's even more surprising, the girl focus episodes were more interesting than Shohei's. One of Momo's episodes was her being thrown around different locations. Juri's was her going full Rambo on a monster. He's supposed to be the second in command and got so little to do. Goro, he's your stereotypical by-the-books Red Ranger. It's not a bad thing, but he also did get some neglect during the teen episodes, probably caused by the rewrites. He does have a fun side, so he isn't a stiff. Since he was a dick and didn't warn that the suits were hard to use, he just threw them into the Chouriki energy. If you're more familiar with later Sentais, Goro is between Akashi from Boukenger and Takaru from Shinkenger. But like everything else, he was affected by the rewrites, so there are episodes that he goes hyper goofy. Yuji, he's kind of hard to pin. He's not like Shoji, but does fumble a lot. He's the weakest of the best. Also gets a lot of the helping kid episodes, especially that god-awful Kendama one. None of that episode makes sense. Some random school built a giant robot. Like, why are they not working for UAO? Why would a school do this? How do they even afford it? His best episode by far was when he was saving the boy from turning into a paranoia. It's one thing for the bad guys to brainwash kids so they act as meat shields. It's another to transform them into murdering psychos. Juri and Momo, they follow the usual pink and yellow dynamic. They love to argue. Momo at the start was a scaredy cat. She has a lot of skills under her belt, like martial arts and bomb diffuser. I guess she didn't deal in direct confrontations often, so she freaked out in the pilot. I do like that the girls got the unique episodes. One probably everyone remembers is the Zeo episode where Kat hurt her leg and the rescue dog helped her out. Ohranger had a similar story, but theirs was more interesting. Even though Ohranger focused on tech, they still like doing the magic and god type stories, which the dog was. Momo's fun and the main lookout at base. She's one of 2 that got character development, usually being the second. In the pilot, Momo freaked out. 30 episodes later, defused a bomb, all while being attacked by a giant machine beast. Then you have the kidnapped girls episode, another extreme flop between goofy and serious. Out of the main cast, Momo is my favorite. She's the most rounded ranger. Juri is basically a anything goes character. She could be girly for one episode, then take charge in another. The team itself feels like this in general, which is probably caused by the rewrites. Her best trait is that she can see through people. If something is slightly off, she'll investigate it further, even if a commanding officer orders her not to. Probably the main reason why she was picked to be a part of Ohranger. There's just not much to say about the cast. The core team doesn't have much going for them. They end up getting lost in plots. They mostly feel like tools. Now Riki, there's more meat to him. Thanks to where he came from, he was there 600 million years ago during the first Baranoia War, basically the first Ohranger, since most of their gears and suits were based off the info on him. He's the window to that past. Asuka in Ohranger is much like Riki. I like that character type. A little off, a little weird, sleeping for millions of years is going to throw you for a spin. Then you have Doran. She's young, but not stupid. She plays more like an adult, can communicate to animals, and has some sort of link to Riki. They can sense each other. Maybe that's how the ancient people harnessed the power of Chouriki. They were more than just human. This is where Zio got the idea of Trey of Trayforia. This storyline also feels complete, like it's from the original story direction. A serious show can of course have some fun, but it has to be within a range. What happens in Ohranger, it goes from Dayu's murder in Kingranger to traffic safety in Carranger. You can break your neck on that whiplash. The only big negative I'll give Riki, he's not always there. If you notice, Sentai has a pattern when it comes to 6 Rangers. Burai died, then we got a young 6th in Dai Ranger, extra hero in Kaku, back to young 6th, Carranger, extra hero. Mega Ranger brought back the adult 6th, although you can argue Yusaku acted like a baby. They finally broke this pattern with Gal Silver after Time Fire died. Like they had to complete a 6 Ranger loop to make normal 6 Rangers. The last cast of characters is Gunmajin. If you've only seen Auric from Zio, you don't really get the character. He's basically a genie. He could grant you a wish if you unlocked him. That's why everyone was after him. He's an okay side character, but I bet he was heavily changed by rewrites. I liked his design. He fits in the Ohranger theme. The toy was really cool. You'll never get a die-cast key like that again. I can't talk about him too much since he's important to the ending of Ohranger, but I will say at least he wasn't as stupid as Ohranger Robo being exercised in order to get the kinks out of the system. The first season where the mecha isn't alive and they do that nonsense. Okay, let's clean my mouth from that image and go look at those pesky monsters the Machine Empire sent out. They used nearly everyone at the top with exception of one general, Tamer Kreese. She was an animal tamer who could create and take control of machine beasts, and the Baranoia that used a human form the most. Kreese was played by Dai Ranger's Gara, Akiko Amamatsuri. She'll appear one more time on Super Sentai in Deca Ranger's movie. This is not the only reason why they skipped her. Kreese's monster form was way too naughty for Power Rangers. The theme of the monsters are pretty straightforward. I will say the Bactus Wrath Beasts were the most consistent in being based on machines, with only the Cactus Brothers deviating, and that's because of story reasons, while previous seasons would throw in more designs that go against the theme. This is also the first season that used almost every monster since MMPR Season 1, with just 5 being skipped due to mainly no footage being usable, and 1 being in that Zio video game that no one remembers. I've played it, it sucks. Oddly, none of them being used in King for a Day's background monsters. Everyone else was adapted, including all the monsters from both movies. Zio also came up with many creative ways in using these monsters. In most cases, original stories, rarely just directly copying the plotline from Ohranger, including the bad Kendama episode, except with the Hydro Contaminator, him being the worst adapted due to them ignoring his ability to vanish because they incorporated the Alien Rangers into the episode and just made it a random thing that showed up in one scene, which they could have just reshot. This leaves me with all the attacks and finishers from Ohranger. There's not too many finishers this time around, called the Hiken Chouriki Riser, Secret Sword Superpower Riser. This finisher was edited in Zio due to stupid people who would think Red's bird symbol looking like it's from World War II. Blue and Green's finishers focus more on force, like Green's Mirage Knuckle and Blue's Rolling Bomber, while the girls' finishers are focused on extreme speed, like Yellow's Splash Illusion and Pink's Miracle Chi Kung Shot. They do also have a group finisher called the Chouriki Dynamite Attack. In the series, only the main team did this, but in Gokaiger they had all 6 do the finisher. The King Stick has 2 finishers called the Victory Flash and King Tornado. Now, the Mecha have a ton of attacks, mainly in their solo modes. Sky Phoenix is Phoenix Beam, Tauros Beam, Leon Shoot, Dogu Vulcans, and Mo Cannon. And thanks to the bonus helmets, Ohranger Robo has multiple finishers. The main one from their sword, the Crown Final Crash, my favorite, the Chouriki Leon Beam, and a few others that mimic the Ranger's abilities like Dogu Sky Kick. Red Puncher has 3 main attacks and its combo finisher, Big Cannon Burst. Tackle Boy has the Dynamite Tackle. Gunmajin has 7 strike variations. The blocker machines each have 2 attacks, including the ability to use the Ranger's personal weapons and sidearms, which the toys never came with. Ending with O-Blocker's primary finisher, the Twin Blockin' Crash. Lastly, King Pyramider having only 2, Super Burn Wave in Pyramid Mode and Super Legend Beam in Battle Formation. This will be a first for Power Rangers, but I prefer Zeo. The story issues are too much. The drastic change in tone is all over the place, and the cast just exists. Ohranger is a letdown, but still not my worst Sentai season. This is one season I really would like to see get an anniversary special. We are coming up on its 30th anniversary in a few years, with Riki and Doran appearing in the Kingranger in Space special. They should take advantage of this and produce a story based around the original ideas they had planned. And for the love of God, give Shohei things to do than just loving food. If you have a suggestion or a topic you'd like me to cover, leave a comment down below. I may use it in a future video. This marks the end of Ohranger. I now head into the land of car magic and road safety. Olay!